Alright. Hello. Oh my goodness, sorry. I've got to try and get myself all organized. There he is. Welcome to day 40 of Naruto. Goodness, day 40. Got about 120 to go. I think we're about a quarter. No, we're not a quarter of the way there. Almost a quarter of the way there. Because I think I'm 23. Hang on, I've just got to get my Excel spreadsheet. Oh goodness. Oh no, I buggered up my spreadsheet. 1 second. Oh goodness. I had a dream today. Well, I didn't have a dream, but I had a fear, sorry, should I say, that I was going to delete my whole spreadsheet once I got halfway through. Wouldn't that be an absolute goof? But no, I think I'm 23.5% of the way there. Which is, I mean, it feels, again, all the numbers when it comes to this, I'm just going to drop that down a little bit. When it comes to the numbers on this, all the numbers feel large, but then they also feel small at the same time. So I'm just going to move that. The boy needed the webcam for his work today. So he nicked the webcam, so now I've had to reset it up. Oh, and quick roll call. 2 ham toasties. They're 2 ham toasties on our new toasted maker, but they're not. I say it's new, but we've literally had it for like 3 years as a present from his grandmother. But it's been sitting in the back of our car because our rental situation up to now, up to thing meant that we couldn't even have a toasty machine. So it was sitting in the back of the boys' truck for like 2 years. But we finally got it. We finally actually have space for it. But anyway, so I've got 2 of those. Rest of the roll call. What have we got? Right, rest of the roll call. We have a lovely cup of tea to wash down my next one, which is a delightful 1 second while I try and sing down this love code. Oh my goodness. Oh bruh. Thank you. Right. To wash down a mocha coffee. A mocha coffee. And I don't drink coffee. The only reason I am goodness, sorry. Maybe it's just my chair's in the wrong position. Something's not right about this setup. Anyway, the only reason I'm drinking a mocha coffee is because the boy's grandmother has departed us this morning. And she drinks mochas, and she had 1 sachet left in the box, and so neither me nor the boy drinks. Well, he drinks coffee, but he just drinks like long black coffee, and so he doesn't really drink mochas, and then I don't drink coffee at all. But I'm like, well, someone's gonna get. Well, you know, I'm not just gonna let this one lonely mocha sachet go to waste. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give it a go. You never know. It's a Makona Heftemir coffee, so it could be amazing. It could be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but I won't know till I try it. So I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna bite the bullet, and so I've got the other cup of tea and a big giant glass of water to wash it down if it's foul. Which my blanket opinion of coffee is that coffee is more foul than it is not. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, before that, I've got to eat my ham toasties. Yeah, so, I hope you're all doing fine. Hope you're all doing great. And we also, his grandmom, his nan, is the most kind, generous soul on the planet. So like a couple of days ago, she asked me, oh, why do you guys not have a microwave? And I said, I mean, we've never had space for one really. And you know, we've had frying pans and ovens, so that's really done us for that, and it's kind of just got to the point where we were just like, yeah, we just made do without a microwave, so it's just never really struck our fancy, I guess. No like particular reason. Next day, we come home from work and there's a bloody microwave sitting on the bench. And she's like, that's why I asked you if you had a microwave. I'm like, oh my god, you did need to buy us a microwave. My goodness. It was probably because when we were at work, she was having lunch, or you know, she had her lunch in the fridge. She probably didn't want to heat it up on the frying pan and all the oven. So it was actually for the convenience factor. But now that we have a microwave, we used it today to heat up our lunch, and it is actually very, very, very convenient. So probably end up using a microwave quite often now. It's one of those things that you can definitely live without, but as soon as you get it, you know, as soon as you get one for yourself, I guess, you're just like, ooh, this is good. I'm enjoying this. I'm loving this convenience. You know, and you discover the joy of microwave that led to their invention in the first place, and you're like, oh, this is why microwaves are a thing, because they're so great. Ow, 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 ow. It's too hard. Right, now we're going to try my mocha. Lord, wish me luck. Wish me luck on the mocha front. First we'll do Kakuzu and 10. There we go. Right, wish me luck. It's gonna get messy. Something. I'm thinking of a non-food item. Yeah, too much milk in there. What's that reminding me of? It's reminding me of something. I'm thinking like seed pods from the garden. And the fact that that's like I'm being reminded of them when I haven't eaten one is disturbing me. It's not awful. It's not the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted in my life. But I would never drink this on a daily. Ugh, I mean, it's only saving grace that it's got chocolate in it. Long story short, that mocha is not changing my mind on coffee. It's not one of those, you know, those rare things where, you know, you're like, ugh, I hate this type of food, or, oh, this drink is disgusting, and then you try like one example of it and it just like changes your life completely, and you're like, oh my god, I've been missing out this whole time. This mocha is not one of those mochas. It's reminding me of something. Something earthy and grassy, and I suppose now that I think about it, well, coffee beans do come from. Oh god, I'm gonna shoot myself in the foot here by saying coffee beans come from a tree. Beans come from a tree. I should know this. I should know this. I can't call myself a pub quiz aficionado if I don't know where coffee beans come from. They come from the coffee tree, don't they? It's the same as like cocoa beans, but it's just coffee beans. They come from a tree, don't they? I'm gonna lock in those lyrics. I think I'm right on that one. Consistente was alright, that was passable. Now what exciting, oh goodness, oh gracious. Oh my lord. So, big update on the food front. So, Monday was the final of the bake-off at work. Now, what all of these weeks had been leading towards. You can probably tell how my voice was going to go. So, you know, it was me, and it was two others. So I was umming and ahhing about what I was going to make. It was going to be a cheesecake, then it was going to be like a hazelnut berry panna cotta thingamabob, and all of that loveliness. At the last minute, I changed it to these like galaxy mousse cakes things, which you're supposed to make with like domed things, and it's, you know, they had all these fancy like mirror glaze and all this sort of stuff. So I changed my mind at the last minute to that. So I bought all the ingredients, you know, what I thought I needed, and the molds that I had weren't perfect domes. They were just like, so I imagine just thinner and deeper muffin tins, I guess. I don't even know how to describe it. Anyway, so I'm like, we got this. Also at the last minute, because what you're meant to do is you're meant to create a chocolate mousse, and you're meant to put a brownie at the bottom, and then the icing over the top. So I changed my mind, I made strawberry mousse, and I decided to replace it to a biscuit. Like a nice butterscotch biscuit that I make, which is quite nice. So I make it. Reading the recipe, and it says that actually reading the comments on the recipe, because the mirror glaze had gelatin in it, and all the people were saying in the comments, can we like reduce the gelatin because it ends up being like rubbery, you know, it's almost like fondant, you can like peel the thing off, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like the sound of that, should I reduce the gelatin so it's a bit more glazy? So I decided to do that. So basically, long story short, I make my strawberry mousse. The mousse recipe I find that had the least ingredients, had just like, you know, real strawberries, and then cream and something else in it. So I make that. It was okay. It wasn't as sweet as I would have liked, but yeah, I'll put that in. I make my butterscotch biscuit. Comes out fantastic. It's lovely. Put those on top. Heaps of mousse comes out, but okay, I just had smaller molds than I realised. And then I go to make the glaze, and the glaze turns out fine. Like, it actually turns out fine. I just didn't realise that I made like a bucket of it when I only needed about like a cup's worth. So I have 2 bowls in the fridge right now of glaze, which also the gelatin has now worked its magic on, and it's no longer like you could pour it and scoop it with a spoon and drizzle on stuff. It's like jelly. It's like you push it till you lift up this huge blob of it. Anyway, so I make them. I drizzle all the stuff over. I ended up using one of the boys' pill containers, and he comes out and says, why are you using that? Because now you've got dye all over it, or like food colouring, because I was had to tint the glaze to be like a blue and then like a nice like dark rich purple, and then drizzle on top so it's got like a nice marbled effect. Actually turned out quite well. So anyway, so ended up drizzling all the cakes. Didn't completely coat them, but it's alright. So then what? So I make the cakes, do all my stuff. Put them in the freezer. No, put them in the freezer? Or did I put them in the fridge? I think I put them in the freezer. And then we had a little like test batch. And then so I'm like, oh, so we pulled them out a few hours later. They looked delicious, looked amazing. They had little like sparkly gold and silver sparkles on them. They looked beautiful. But then when I pulled them out, I'm like, oh no. Because I've used biscuit, the biscuit is now hardened, like fully hardened. So I'm like, oh god, when people try and bite through that, it's going to be super hard, and then they're going to be reminded of the chainsaw cheesecake base. So, you know, I'm ruined. I have to put them in the fridge now. So I put them in the fridge, and then of course, what I didn't realise was that the mousse will melt. If it's, you know, well, the mousse will go all moussey. So, you know, it hasn't got a particular hole to it. So the whole point of putting heaps of gelatin in the glaze, so it becomes like fondant, is to contain the mousse when it starts blurring. It doesn't just go blur all over the place. So that was mistake number one. So I looking later, and these poor things. They didn't go completely like a puddle, but you know the bottoms of them were looking a bit sad. So I'm like, oh screw it. So next morning, take them into work. And I start dishing them up on the plate, and as I'm taking them off with the spoon, they be glooping. I mean, not to the point where they completely lost their form, but like they were glooping a bit more than I would have liked. About half the mousse is now on the tray. So that was fun. So all in all, they looked sad. They just looked sad. They tasted fine, I think. I think I got the flavour combination wrong, but anyway. But for what it is, they tasted fine. So then, my competitors. So one guy, who basically managed to get 2 finals on the fluke, said that he was going to bring a fairy bread, which was white bread with just butter and hundreds of thousands of sprinkles on it. And we were all kind of expecting to bring that in. He brings in a thing, and I'm looking at his little container. I'm like, oh, that's not fairy bread. Turns out he had basically had a change of heart the night before, which I knew he would. I knew he would. I should have predicted it. And decided to make Oreo raspberry cinnamon rolls. So I'm like, great. Already I've lost. So that's one thing. The next thing is the other competitor. She said, "Oh my god, I had like 0 time during the weekend to make this. I was like trying to scramble something together at 9 o'clock at night last night." Oh, okay. She brings in the most beautifully decorated and dressed Biscoff cupcakes, and I'm just like, oh god, yeah. So anyway, I've lost because my sad-looking thing next to these beautifully made-up things. So anyway, so bake-off happens, and then lo and behold, Biscoff cupcakes won. Wasn't surprised, and they were actually delicious, so well deserved. Very well deserved. But I was just kicking myself the whole day. If I had stuck to my original plan of like my big giant cheesecake with my little floral strawberry arrangement and my clear gelatin, I would have had a fighting chance. But my sad little galaxy mousse cakes were just a blob on the plate, and because it was like heavy use of food colouring, when you tried to pick them up and the glaze getting over your hands, like it's leaving. It's not like fully staining your hands. It actually came off quite well, but you know, you're getting blue and purple all over your hands. So people would have voted down on that anyway. Oh, so annoyed with myself. So anyway, so Bake Off didn't go particularly as planned. Oh my goodness. Anyway, but Bake Off is done. I'm happy. I'm not particularly bothered that I didn't win. I'm happy to have got past the first round, to be honest, knowing my track record with foods. And at least now, at the end of it, I know that I can make cheesecakes that are fab. I know how to make brandy snaps. And I know that when you're making real strawberry mousse, it's probably good to use strawberries that aren't probably close or aren't only just gone right. They've gone a little bit mushy because they're easier to puree and they taste a lot sweeter. So if anything, I'll call that a win. Yeah, so I call that a win, I guess. So that was the bake off. I'm pretty sure something else interesting happened at work, and I can't think what it was. Oh, and then so we got a good group of people at work who are like in charge of like the fun, we call them the fun police, but they're in charge of like the team activities and things. So, and I think there's also a bit of rigor here too. So one of them is the chick who won the bake off, so I feel like there's a little bit of like a rigor going on. And I intentionally said rigor mortis as well. It's a Drag Race reference for those who get it, but anyway, moving on. And so anyway, so this chick was like, she messaged me, she's like, if we wanted a LAN party, what do we gotta do? And I'm just like, you come to the right person for this. You come to the right person. So I'm like, well, it is. So, you know, are you wanting like a tournament style where it's just one game and everyone's just taking turns with the one game? Do you want multiple screens set up with different types of games? Do you want any kind of like tournament system? Like, do you want, you know, are you thinking like PC games? Are you thinking people bringing consoles? Are you wanting this? Like, you know, what about venue? Do you want, you know, are we bringing partners, or is it just the team? And so asking all this stuff, but I think they probably won't do it till like mid next year when it's, you know, the weather's a bit colder, so I suppose they'd be more inclined to do something what's the word, indoors, but I'm thinking right now Bake Off I wanted to win, but at this LAN party involves any kind of point scoring system, I am in it to win it. It will be no holds barred. I won't cheat, but I will be like, I'll be trying to psych them out, throwing people off their game. Depends on the type of game as well. If it's like, if you're looking at a Halo, Battlefield, Call of Duty type of game, no, I'm not so good at that. If it's like Forza, you know, if it's Forza Motorsport or anything like that, I'm like, I think we've got a fighting chance. I reckon. I would say I'm passable at racing games. Probably one of those few genres where online competitive play is probably, if I had to pick any genre of games where I could stand even a modest chance of being any decently good online, would probably be racing games. But then again, I like Forza because it's got the rewind feature, and I probably use that a lot more than a normal online person would be doing. Oh yeah, yeah. So that'll be exciting. I'll be looking forward to that because we've also got softball coming up soon, and part of me's dreading that purely because then I get the rest of the office to see how unfit I am. Which actually it should probably be an impetus to get fit, I guess. I should be using it to inspire, not demean. Hey Kakashi, do you want to know? Yes, I am. Oh, fabulous. Lovely. Lovely jubbly. It wasn't too bad of a fight. Yeah, so all like the physical activity kind of stuff, I'm a bit like, ooh, especially sport. Oh goodness. If you want to bring my blood pressure up, just chuck me in the sporting arena. Oh goodness. I'm absolutely awful. I've had so many embarrassing moments during like sport at school. Oh god. Just awful. And then like on the flip side, like even if you take like whole families, like me and the boy, we're just complete polar opposites when it comes to like our strengths in school. Like my strength was his weakness and vice versa. Like, literally. So it's like, it's almost like a perfect match in that sense. But it's also like, it's also our families as well. You know, their strength is my family's weakness and vice versa. It's just like, it's perfect. It's like a perfect match made in heaven. Yeah, but sport, oh my goodness. It's like one of those things, like whenever, you know, and I almost wonder if the teachers got some sort of like sick pleasure from it as well, because, you know, cross country's coming up. Oh good golly Jesus. You know, my old high school, the cross country track, because we were right next to a river, so the cross country track would take you along like the cattle trail right next to the river, so you practically almost, it can in some places be like knee thigh deep and just cow business and mud. So that was always fun. That was always a delight and a pleasure. And then so you have to run along that for like good like 20 minutes, and then you get to like a sheep crossing bridge for over the river. And then you run over there, and then you get into a cemetery. You're now right in the cemetery. So we're like, okay. So we run through the cemetery, and then we have to run all along the side of this road, and then do a loop back towards school. Now, we're very gender equal, in fact, because there was, along this road, there was a turn off on the right to go straight back to the school, and then if you carried on, it would take you to a park, which then you could turn right and carry on back to school. So the ladies, if you were a lady, you could do the first right and go back, but if you were a man, you had to carry on. You had to carry on and do the park route. I mean, I wasn't complaining. I'm like, fantastic, I get a shortcut, I am happy with that, I will gladly take that. I was not complaining about that at all. So, oh my goodness, I'm forcing this month, I'm really forcing this month down. Yeah, so, but basically cross country would come up, everyone's like, oh god, it's cross country, the weird sporty people are like, oh my god, yes, cross country, I can beat my record from last year, you know, all that sort of business. And so, you know, and then you just see, like, you know, the teachers would be talking about cross country, and they'll just see like all the students just like their faces would go white with fear. They would be panic stricken, you know, their life flashes before their eyes, and the teachers in the staff room must just be like, oh my god, you never guess, I was talking about the cross country, you should have seen the looks on their faces, oh my goodness. Yeah, I suppose, and although with athletics day, it was a little bit, I suppose, better. And since, you know, so everyone's in the school is in one of 4 houses. I was in Gold House, you know, so on athletics day, I don't own any gold or really yellow clothes, but the only yellow clothes I did have was a lovely SpongeBob Christmas t-shirt. So I'd wear my SpongeBob Christmas t-shirt on athletics day. Yeah, so you'd have that, and then you had to do at least 3 events, I think you had to do at least 3 events. So I would always do discus, shot put, and long jump, because they were the least potential to publicly embarrass myself in front of my peers and the rest of the school, because everyone in the school, it wasn't a, you know, the seniors doing it on this day and the juniors doing it on this day. Like, the entire school does athletics day, all at once. So the entire day is like that. So, and then, you know, and then you get the people whose like mums pick them up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, lucky buggers, all that sort of thing. Yeah, so I'd always do that. Although, that being said, in primary school, my last year of primary school, something happened which I've never been able to replicate before. I managed to, like, so when you're doing your things, obviously all the best students would then, so, you know, once they've gone through everyone, they sort of keep the best 5 for each gender. What's that? Yeah. Was it like the tropical? Ooh, tastes very nice. Thank you. Should make more often. Thank you. Got a delightful smoothie from the boy. Fabulous. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes, so you do your little event, and then they'd keep like the best 5 peeps back from each gender, and then like, okay, everyone, you're all crap, you couldn't bugger off. Not actually, but that's the implication. And so then, you know, the good people carry on to see if they can get more points or something, I think. So my last year of primary school, it was the same setup, I suppose, as athletics day in high school. I got into the good, you know, stay back because you're good thing for high jump. Like high jump. Like old scissor kick high jump. One of my least favourite and my probably the most embarrassing attempts at a thing that I've ever done in my schooling career. I've always failed spectacularly because my jumping prowess is practically non-existent. Not practically non-existent, is non-existent. But just randomly, out of nowhere, and I hadn't like trained or anything, so it was literally just completely out of nowhere. My body was just like able to do it. I don't know how it was possible. I was just able to clear the bar, and it's never been like that since. So anyway, I can't even remember how I got onto athletics day. Oh no, that's right, we're talking about sport. Yeah, and then you'd have like you have the running races, you know, and then you'd have the I remember one guy, oh bless his soul. Remember one guy, he was running, and he was like known. He was like one of those people that just is able just to run fast. Like he was first place, second place in like all his races. Bless his cotton socks. He was running, and you know, it was one of the, I don't know if it was a final or it was something anyway. But then you see it, and he puts one foot wrong, and then suddenly the arms go out, and now he's flailing, and then he's just trying to right himself, but he's, you know, the momentum's just carrying him forward, and he's flailing, and you're just like, oh no, and then he just like face plants into the ground, and you're just like, oh my god, doing that in front of the entire school, you would be mortified, absolutely mortified, and oh my goodness. Like I say, bless him. But I'll be like, I'm just gonna hide. I'm just gonna run away. I'm not coming to school ever again because I cannot live with the shame and the embarrassment. And then the other thing too, I am all for humility. I'm all for modesty, you know. You know, people who are amazing, you know, you don't need to go and do a whole bloody song and dance about it for the whole world. But what also equally I don't like is people who are objectively amazing at something, and they're all like, oh no, I'm so bad at that, oh my goodness, like, no, oh my god, I can't do that, like, no, really, oh my god. And so, you know, if you didn't know any better, you'd believe, well, not like believe that they were rubbish, that sounds bad, but like, you know, you kind of like, if you put everyone on a spectrum of running ability, they make it seem like they're on the far end, like the far bottom end of the spectrum, not the far end of the top where they actually are. And like, the people who are on both sides of the spectrum know that they're on those sides of the spectrum. Like they know, and everyone knows, and it's not like you don't need to be shy about it. Like, everyone just knows. So then, nothing frustrated me more than you went in cross country or something like that. We just had to run like a long distance. You'd be talking to people and they're like, oh my god, it was so bad, like, we should be running buddies. And I'm like, great, because I am awful at running. I run out of breath super easily. I'm super slow. My legs, even though I seem to have long legs for that age, I don't mean it's stubby as all hell now, but like, you know, I'm rubbish. I know I'm rubbish. Please be rubbish alongside me so I feel less rubbish. Or we can just run the whole distance together. So then you start, and it's not a case of like as soon as the gun, whatever, blast off, it's like, you know, they start slow, but then like, oh no, why did I do B? They start slow, and then they just kind of just pick up pace, and then just, they're now in the distance, like you can't see them, and you're just like, thanks. I thought I had a buddy. I thought you were going to be one of the bros like us, staying behind 20 minutes behind everyone else, you know, but alas you gave us that false hope. I understand, even the slow people were too slow for you, sure, and that always, for some reason, and I think it's, you know, when I think about it, and my sort of mind mentality at high school and whatever, you know, I probably didn't like it because I was, you know, makes you feel inadequate. Oh my goodness, control us. Stop. But, there was about 3 people that I can remember that were like that. Like, just, if you know you're good, just say you're good. You know, that's all you gotta do. You don't need to be modest about it. Like, there were nice people as well, so I can understand why they were. They were actually, you know, lovely people and people that are cool friends. Yeah. Anyway, and then by far the most humiliating thing. Was it humiliating? No, I think I was too tight to care by that point, but it was still awful. So, in my, I want to say it was year 10, so how old have I been? Like 15. It was like the last year where PE was mandatory, but you could choose what type of PE. So when you're looking through the course book and, you know, picking what type of PE you do, you've got like, oh, this one's where you just play lots of games, and this one's where you just do like fun sports like dodgeball and whatever. But then they've got like the hardcore ones where it's all running and athletic stuff, and then they had one about tramping and orienteering. Or no, survival and orienteering. So I'm like, ooh, that sounds like my kind of game. I'm all about that. You know, I love me a good compass and map. You know, point to a place on a map and tell me to go to it. I'm there. I'm there before everyone else. Like, I'll tell you another story about my moment of superiority right in the early days of primary, which I might have already said in the early stream. I can't remember, but I just remember. Yeah. Anyway, actually, no, I might tell now because it's only a short story. In primary, and I want to say like, age 7, age 8, I think, possibly. Anyway, we were in class and we all had to split up into pairs, and they were all given a big printed map of the school. And the teacher had drawn a little circle or a little X on the map, so we had to look at the map, and then when she says go, we all have to go to that spot in the map, on the map, and wait there. And then, you know, we get it right, then we get it right. So I'm looking at the map, and I'm just like, okay, I'm analysing, okay, right. She wants us to stand right next to there was like a giant playground that they had at the school, like it was huge. She wanted us to stand next to that. So I'm like, great. As soon as she says go, you know, I'm there. As soon as she says go, literally everyone in the class except me and my mates went running off to where the swimming pool is, in the opposite direction to the playground. Like, everyone, just instantaneously. It wasn't a case of they're all stopping and looking at their map and everyone was gapping it to the swimming pool. And then so my friend's like, they all know where it is. I'm like, it's not that way. It's back the other way. She's like, everyone's going that way. I'm like, no, it's this way. I will defy anyone who says it's not where I think it is. So we go, we stand at the spot that I'm pretty sure it's at, and then she's like, oh, you know, we're not seeing anyone for ages. Maybe we got it wrong. I'm like, nope, just keep waiting. And then lo and behold, about 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, because from where we started, you couldn't actually see that spot from where we had started. And of course, around the corner comes the teacher with the entire rest of the class behind them, and then just that moment of just smug superiority, where you're just like, where the teacher's like, yeah, these peeps were the only ones that actually got it right. Oh my goodness, that was rubbish. I'm gonna restart that one. That was actually stupid. I was trying to get to finish an ultimate jutsu with her. That was absolutely diabolical. Anyway, so yeah, so the teacher comes and she's like, look class, these people were the only ones out of the whole class to get it. And I was just like, I think that point in time probably was the moment that my early child, like my primary school, bow down before me. I am God. That was the moment that I think it got cemented, because I've never felt more proud of myself. But anyway, so there's the backstory for me. I'm like, I'm good at reading maps. I'm a map reading pro. But anyway, so fast forward 8 years later. So I'm now in my orienteering class in PE. And so I'm like, oh, this looks great. So join up. And then of course all of the really good at PE kids are in that class, and a few of my mates as well. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't strike these sorts of people as survival orienteering types, but okay, let's go. Okay. So then, you know, doing survival stuff, whatever, trying to do like survival of the fittest. The fittest being the operative word in this case. Because it was all about like endurance training and all this sort of thing. I'm like, oh goodness, what have I got myself in for? But hey, you know, I was fine. And then, one fateful day, the teacher says, oh, you know, guys, in a couple of weeks, you know, in a few weeks we'll be getting ready to go on the tramp. And I'm like, tramp? What tramp? And everyone's like, the tramp that we're going on. I'm like, what tramp? And they're like, did you not see that we're going on a tramp? I'm like, no. So I look back in the course book, and of course, there, in the, you know, so it's got the little course description, and then right down the bottom, and you know, the cost of the course, which is more for the parents more than anyone else, it's like $180, $150 tramp. And I'm like, you're absolutely having an absolute giggle right now. We're going on a bloody tramp. Oh, for goodness sake. And knowing this, it's not going to be a nice one. It's going to be one of those tramps. So anyway, so then begins the training. So there we're going up, there's a hill, you know, like a, what's say famous hill? There's a hill in the town that, you know, is known for people, it's got heaps of like stairs and walking tracks up it, you know, and it's known in the town for being like the fitness place. If you want to get fitness fast, it's going up this hill. And so, you know, we're going over there and there's like a steps, like, you know, the steps are kind of like, it's, oh my god, the steps. And so we had to like run up and down the steps in like 2 minutes, which is impossible for me. Absolutely impossible. And so, you know, we had to do that, and then we had to start doing that after school, getting ready for this tramp, and then the fateful tramp comes. And it was, so, at this place, Lake Wakaramoana in North Island, there's a place called Panakiri Bluff, and it's just a big thing, just a giant hill that you walk up and down. There's a little lodge right at the top, and it's got some, you know, beautiful views of the rest of the lake when you're up at the top or whatever. So we were going up Panakiri Bluff, and everyone's like, oh my god, you're going up the bluff, and I'm just like, oh goodness, what have I got myself into right now? So my mama, came with me on that tramp as well, and so that was great. She was one of the parent helpers, and yeah, so we start on this thing, and it's, you know, it's a 2-day journey. Is it a 2-day journey? Yeah, it was a 2-day journey. We ended up being boated to a smaller lodge near the base of it. We stayed there a night. And Mum gave me and my mates extra food for dinner, and then the next morning we got up at like 6 o'clock, and basically the day is we go up and down the bluff, and then the bus will be waiting for us at the bottom, and then we drive back home. So we start, and it's uphill, no joke, for like 5 hours uphill. We ended up getting to the summit, I want to say, at about like 11 o'clock, almost 12 o'clock-ish. And then coming down is also like 2-3 hours. So basically what ended up happening was, there's a fast group and a slow group. I was undoubtedly in the slow group, as was my mother and the dad of another guy who was in there who, if I'm being frank, the guy himself is just an absolute piece of rubbish. His dad is extremely lovely. Very, very, very kind. Very, what's the word? Not forgiving, but very, what's the word when, like, you're just with a whole bunch of slow people, but you don't really care? Like, you're just encouraging, I think. Probably might be a better one, but anyway. So there was me and my mate, and I think one of my other mates, but he ended up, because we were so slow, I think he ended up just running up and catching up with the fast group. So anyway, so going up, my feet, by the end of it, I'm like, I'm just ready to die right now. I've exhausted my chocolate supply. You know, they say when you have scroggin or, you know, your nuts and raisins mix, and, you know, they say to put chocolate in there, so I was like, all I hear is you can eat lots of chocolate on a tramp. So I eat lots of chocolate. But anyway, so we get up to the top. I think I'm pretty sure I had buggered my ankle literally within about 20 minutes of the tramp as well. I'd like stepped into a pothole and twisted my ankle. My ankles are the weakest part of my body by far. I will snap my ankle on anything. So I'd already buggered my ankle, so that was fabulous. Or had I? Or maybe that was another trip. That was another school trip. Might have been another school trip. Anyway, so, you know, we go up to the top. You know, we're at the top. Yay. And then we start heading down. And basically, we were so slow that the fast group got to the bus 2 hours before we did. So they were sitting there in the bus, I think with cell phones. I don't know if they brought their mobile phones. But anyway, they had to sit there for 2 hours while we caught up, coming downhill. So it was that was fun. That was great time. So of course we come down, and would I be out of turn saying this? I don't know. Basically, in the entirety of this class, there's about, I want to say, like 25 people. There's, I'm just trying to think who's in there. So 1 mate, 2 mate, 3 mate, 3 mates, possibly 4, and another guy who, he was one of those, like, I want to say he was a loner type, but he was one of those people that is just like, he's just living his life, has no care in the world. He was lovely. He was actually lovely. He was the kind of guy that no one really gave the time of day to, but I thought he was sweet and lovely. I've always helped him when I could. So yeah, so there's about 4 people in that class that I would consider nice people, and all the rest, well, I mean, I'm sure they will have changed by now after school. You know, they'll be decent people, but at that particular point in time, and maybe it's just they didn't like me, or they thought I was weird, because I was weird at school. I won't deny that. Like if me and the boy knew each other back in high school, I doubt we would have been friends. I was that weird, I think. Yeah, he was very just normal, and I was very not normal. But anyway. So basically the other 20 people in the class, I'm pretty sure it might have been it was actually probably way less than that, but anyway, you get the idea. They were nasty people. Very, you know, all the popular girls and boys, very, you know, will crack a joke behind your back without, like, no hesitation. Anything that they can do to, you know, anything weird that you do, they will be having a little giggle about it at night when all the boys and girls all, you know, form that little group together on the, you know, on the bunk beds. You know, they'll be having a right old giggle. You know, to the point, and I was mad about it. I was fuming. Was because mum at the time, you know, was working really, really long days. So she would be asleep. She falls asleep like straight away. As soon as she sits down in the chair, she's asleep. So on the drive, I want to say on the drive there, from our school to like look at Moana. So Mum was asleep, and these pieces of work in the back seat, because we were like in the middle, they were already teasing her and making fun of her for being asleep, and I'm just like, no, you don't do that to my mum. Like, you don't do that to my mum. Not having it. You're already, you're already on thin ice already. But anyway, and Mum knew that these mostly girls weren't nice people either. At the time, they could be lovely now. I don't think I've interacted with them since high school, so they could be lovely, but at the time they were not. And so, yeah, and then of course all you need is me and my mom to come, to delay your return home by 2 hours, because we're just so slow. I mean, I was slow. Mum and the other guy had to also be slow, because they had to make sure we didn't fall off the bluff and die. Because you could very easily have died. One wrong step and you would plummet to your death quite easily. Which I suppose the school was probably insuranced up in that eventuality. But anyway, so yeah, and it was just not a nice time. Basically, it kind of just scarred me for life, and I'm just like, yeah, hills, I'm good. Tramping, I'm good. I'd rather not. Or if I am, you just warn me about 2 years in advance, just to give me time to get my life together, and get to a point where my health and fitness is at an acceptable, is at the kind of level that my doctors would hope it would be. Yeah. But other than the tramp, when it came to the actual like survival parts of the class, I was like top of the class. So you win some, you lose some. So at least in the bits that I thought I'd be good at, I was. Yeah. And then just the whole time, I was just honestly, every hour, every second going up that bluff, I was just thinking to myself, I should have just picked bloody dodgeball. I should have just picked dodgeball. I should have gone with my gut and said, well, actually no, I didn't even go with my gut. My gut was telling me to go with the orienteering. I should have just said, you know what, screw compasses. Just do bloody dodgeball with all your mates. Do the fun class. You hate PE anyway, so why make things harder for yourself? PE was just, it was, everyone has that class that they dread, absolutely dread with every fibre of their being at school. PE was mine. I was just, oh goodness. It was awful, absolutely awful. I mean, swimming, I was passable at. I'd actually done swimming lessons earlier in primary school, which I've got a couple of ribbons from that actually. 3rd place. I think I might have even got 2nd ones. I've never came first in a swimming race, but I've done passable. I've actually done pretty decently, all things considered. But anyway, so swimming I'm all good at. Swimming I'm happy with. But running, biking, tramping, that sort of thing. Yeah. I carry a lot of blubber on this body, and at least with swimming, at least the water helps alleviate some of that load bearing that you have to do when you're of the larger persuasion. Who can play that game? Right, I've got to update the list. Where are we at? 8,531. Alright. 8,531. Fabuloso. Lovely jubbly. Right. We've got next young Hinata and young Tamari. That's beautiful. Oh, that's fabulous. I might commission the boy to make me more smoothies more often. Like, one of the boy's hidden talents, honestly, I swear to God, is he is one of those people that can cook. Like, he can cook. When he makes stuff good. He just has that natural talent for just flavor combinations, and he just has it just effortlessly. He used to, when one of his aunties used to have a cafe in town. He worked there. He's trained barista. You know, was in the kitchen, so he knows how to make a good sandwich. But no, he just knows how to make stuff, and he just never does. Well, no, sorry, I lie. He does do. Whenever it comes to like good meats and things, he's the meat man. I wouldn't dare touch a big giant thing of mutton without his advice and suggestions. But when it comes to everything, desserts, breakfasts, lunches, dinners, smoothie beverages, everything. He's got everything. He knows how to do it all, and it's just a delight and a pleasure. I'm very eternally grateful that my boyfriend knows how to cook, and cook well. I mean, I like to think I make a good dessert, but I mean, and the extent of my other cooking skills is I can make a nice cottage pie. I think my spaghetti bolognese is on point. I scare most people when I say that I don't cook with onions. Like, I will avoid onions if I can. I don't particularly like them. You won't ever see me eat a raw onion. I think that they're just the devil's idea of a prank. That's what I think raw onions are. But I'm very much as minimal ingredients as possible, comfort food, that kind of savoury shit. But with desserts, well, wow, you know, I'm up for a challenge on desserts. And the more dairy, the better. So actually, no, any desserts actually, like any at all, I'm a fan of. Like, if they ever invented some kind of thing, whether it's a type of food or, I mean, probably not a pill, but you know, if there was like a food that they invented, like imagine ice cream, but with all the nutrition of a roast dinner. Like, wouldn't that be fabulous? Wouldn't that just be fantastic? You just, you know, what are you eating? I'm eating ice cream. Tastes like a strawberry sundae, but it's given me all the all the nutrition of mashed potato and roast chicken. I would be the happiest person in the world. I would actually be the happiest person in the world. But the other thing too is, and it probably actually didn't help, is cooking class at high school was interesting. It's very interesting because you've only got 50 minutes, unless you're sort of really specialising in cooking, in which case you can get a double period of like an hour 40. But generally you've only got 50 minutes, so there's only so much. I mean, you really, in terms of actual time that you have cooking, you've only got about half an hour actually, if that. So there's a very little you can make in that time that's of any complexity. What was the most complex thing we've ever made? Probably these like cakes in a cup. You get these little like teacups, and you can like make a cake in it, and you put jam in the bottom, so then when you tip it over onto a plate, all the jam flows down. I actually made some bomb ass cupcakes. I got my jam perfect. Oh, it's fabulous. My partner and that thing, I remember she overfilled the mug, so in the oven it just completely overspilled. But yeah, and so yes, cooking class, there was very little you could do. You know, you could make pancakes, but then you know, and then the other thing too is that you had to bring your own ingredients as well, or not. You know, you didn't have to bring like flour or butter or anything like that, because I'd have that in the pantry, but at the school pantry. But you know, if you wanted, when we're making omelette day, if you want peas, you got to bring your own peas. If you want ham, you got to bring your own ham. So you know, at school, it's just logistically, it's just not the best. It could be better. Delightful. That's delicious. Yeah, so that probably stunted. Oh, that also reminds me of it. Oh, grinding my gears when I have. Oh, I was so mad. So what was it? What happened? Yeah, basically, long story short, the cooking class at school did not. It instilled some techniques, but a chef of me it did not make. But okay, so I was mad. So in New Zealand, in the NCEA school measuring system, grade system, we don't have like we don't have A's, B's, C's, whatever. We have excellence, which is like your A+. You've got merit, which is like your kind of like B's. And then you've got achieved, which is your C's and your D's. And then you've got fails, which is your F's. So, you know, achieved, you aspire for achieved. Most people get merit. I'd say, except, yeah, most people either get achieved or merit, and a few people get excellence. And we actually didn't get very many fails, or at least none that I knew of. But anyway. So basically, during the assessments, you know, you'd be shown the criteria. What do you have to do to get an achieved merit and excellence? And I can't remember if I'd actually seen what I needed to get for an excellence. But basically, for cooking class, you just had to make something, and then they would judge that. They didn't eat it. They don't eat it. They don't. It's not a Master Chef sort of thing where they munch away and they're like, oh, you know, your flavor combinations need to be whatever. They just look at it and then just mark it and just ask you how you cooked it. So I made a burger. I just got mince. I just made a burger, cheese, lettuce, and a bun. Now, because I would be the one eating it, at the time I wasn't particularly partial to toasted buns. We had been shown how to make burgers. I think we had done burgers in the class a couple of times ago, and the teacher always said to toast your buns, but I'm not toasting this bun. I'm the one eating it, so I'm not going to toast it. So, you know, we make our creation, we bring it over to the judging table, and then, you know, we have to teacher has to take a picture take a picture of you beside your creation, and it was that picture, I remember specifically that picture, which made me realise that my eyes are all lopsided. But like, I think only lopsided in the sense that one of my eyelids droops down a bit more than the other, so it makes it look like my eyes are on different levels, but anyway, I digress. So, what happened? So, the teacher was judging, and I got a merit. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I mean, I'm not, in this particular class, I'm not fussed if I don't get excellence, you know, not fussed. So, I get a merit. And the teacher said the only thing that stopped me from getting an excellence was I didn't toast the bun. And I'm like, but I didn't want to toast the bun. And they said, oh, well, you needed to toast the bun to get excellence. I'm like, what, like, there wasn't any, like, in terms of the marking criteria, we didn't know if it was a case of, are they judging the complexity of the dish? Are they judging how many different cooking methods you use? And if you've used 4 different cooking methods, you get a tick there or whatever. Like, I don't know what they were judging on. And I'm like, you're not the one eating the burger. I'm the one eating the burger. And if I don't like toasted buns, I'm not going to toast my bun. If you were eating the burger, that would be a different story. But you're not. So I'm not going to toast the bun. But no, but that was the only thing that stopped me from getting an excellence. And I was mad. I was fuming. I'm like, screw cooking class, I'm not taking this. I'm done. I'm done with this. I am just disgusted, horrified, disappointed. I'm disappointed at the foundation that the school has built itself upon. I am just mortified. I'm gonna tell my parents about this, but yeah, I wasn't actually, but you know. So that was cooking class, and then on the flip side, actually, I managed to fake my way to an excellence. Oh my god! And the teacher who was marking should probably never watch this, but bless her heart. So computers at my high school, computing class was it was interesting. It was an interesting one. Basically my high school was, did very, very, very well in like the academic subjects. In your maths and your science and your English and all that sort of thing. The more like hands-on technical things, digital things, not so much. The only computing teacher in the whole school was her experience with computers was like typing class, like to hands on the keyboard like this, and you use different fingers for different things. And I remember we had what was it called, quick type or type quick, one of those things. We had a class that you'd go to the computer lab to do your typing lessons, and I was by far faster typing with 2 fingers than I was with. But anyway, I mean now I'm a lot better. Maybe it did help. It just took many years for it to help. But anyway. What's that? So this teacher was a typing teacher. She couldn't teach you a thing about how a server works. Couldn't, when it comes to foundation of web pages or anything like that. There's a hard limit on what she can teach, which we were painfully aware of. So basically computing at my high school starts off, you're 7, 8, 9, maybe 10. You go to computing, you do your type quick. We used, I think it was I want to say it was a coding, like a learn how to code with jigsaw puzzles program called, what was it called? Storytelling Alice? I want to say it was called. It had something to do with an Alice, I'm pretty sure. Maybe that was one of the models you could get in it, like the stock 3D models you could get. But anyway, so we had to do that, and then you would do, oh goodness, what was the other things that you had to do when you weren't taking computing? Can't remember. But anyway, so the boys just took it as an opportunity to go on flash games, whatever, and that was that. So then when you take computing for real, like I've now chosen this as a subject I'm wanting to take. So now you start getting into, okay, what is HTML? What is, what is CSS? And then rather than the teacher teach you what HTML and CSS is, she just drops a giant 50-page textbook on your desk. And there you go. Just read it and you'll learn how to do HTML, CSS. So we had to use, was it an Adobe? I can't remember. I don't know if it was an Adobe software. I think it was called DreamWorks or something. And it was like a HTML web page designer sort of thing. You make your website on that. So we had that. And then I remember there was one assignment we had, I want to say it was like year or level 1 NCA, where we had to, because you have to talk about the crap principles of page design, of web page design, so contrast, repetition, alignment, and what's it called? Alignment and oh goodness, what's it called? It's like consistency, but no, it's not like consistency. It's contrast, repetition, alignment, and oh my goodness, it's not position, so that's the same as alignment. Oh my god, I did it. I tell my work about this the other day. I should know this. I had to teach my boss about it. Contrast, repetition, alignment, and it's not purpose. What's it called? What was it called? Proximity. There we are. Oh, I never would have got that. So what we had to do, yes, we had to do basically, what you had to do is we got a video game cover from 1980s, which I think was Space Invaders. Yeah. And we had to get a video game cover from recent times, which was Battlefield 4? Battlefield 3? One of the Battlefields anyway. And so basically we had to go through each cover and in excruciating detail say how it lived up to those principles. So I had to say how a matte painted cover with literally no hard contrast whatsoever had contrast. We had to talk how it had repetition. Like, so the cover itself was, you know, you got your standard, you know, Atari, you got your standard like really wide border. I think it was like a pink border or something. And then it's just a UFO with a tractor beam doing something, and I think there's maybe some mountains in the background. No repetition at all in that. So you were scrounging, like you were just making up the most utter BS to even, like, screw it, they repeated bloody brush strokes. It was like, you just really had to dig deep within your soul to come up with some quality BS on that one. And the same thing for the Battlefield one. Oh, they used 2 tanks. They repeated the number of tanks that they had in the background. Therefore, it lives up to the repetition principle. It was like that nonsense. So I'm like, great. I don't know how this has helped me design web pages, but sure. Help me design a video game cover, great. You know, just use a lot of oranges and blues, like in all the movie posters, you know, but it's just like, oh, come on, you know, like, bruh. You know, there's better ways, better assignments that you can give us to, cause I think, because the way that the unit standards or achievement standards are set up in NCAs, there's like a general, like, here's the outcome. What form that takes can be interpreted by the teacher. So if the outcome that the student needs to have is that they understand the design principles, and can demonstrate understanding of them, what form that takes can be completely up to the teacher, whether it's talking about video game covers, designing a web page that shows that, you know, which would probably be the better one. But anyway, yes, we had that. We had to create a Access database that had mail merged into a Word document so we could send update newsletters to a car enthusiast club, something like that. It was something like that. So I'm like, great. Don't plan on being an office administrator anytime soon, but okay. That and then so that was in level 2. So that was year 12. So the second to last year. So then by this point in time, because of the lack of engaging computing class material. By the end of that year, the amount of kids in that class had dwindled from about 10 to like 4. It was, yeah, to the point then that in my last year of high school, I was the only one to put my hand up to do computing, and so the school said it's not worth it to do computer, run the class, so soz, we can't run it. We can do something by correspondence, you know, the correspondence school if you want, but we can't, it's not worth the time to run the computing class. I'm like, oh, okay, never mind then, okay, that's cool. So no computing class. The computing class was so rubbish that they didn't have enough kids to do when I got to year 13, but anyway. Yeah, so that was the nature of computing. But me and my friend, we were a bit naughty. When you become a little bit of a teacher's pet, when you're a good student, the teachers love you. You learn very quickly how to game the system a little bit. Our time of the 50 minutes in our computing class, I want to say about 10 of those was doing actual work. The other 40 was going on personality quizzes. I discovered what piece of toast I am based on my star sign. I found out what Harry Potter class I was in, if all the letters were reversed, and if, you know, based on what drink I had that morning. I learned, you know, I found out what Naruto character I was. I found out what Naruto character all my mates were, because I was pretending to be my mates. I found out everything there possibly is to know about my personality. It was where we discovered the TV Tropes websites. We were on the TV Tropes website all the time. Because then, the thing we were clever about, and the reason why we didn't get caught and all the boys playing their flash games did, is that when the teacher walks past or looks from a distance, if you're playing a flash game, like it's obvious what you're doing. When you're on TV Tropes, which is text based, it's just a big long wall of text. From afar, it looks like we're researching something. I mean, if kids are going to muck around on computers, they're going to play games. They're not going to be reading about, you know, the tropes found in popular media. You know, it was just like, you just have to be smart with how you muck around. You know, when someone's looking, you've got to make it look like you're doing something productive. So you just read stuff. I was reading Shaman King manga. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff. It was, you know, you just have to do it well. And be smart with it, and God, you can get away with it all. Like I think I probably did about an hour of work in a week in that class. But well, and also because the assignments themselves were like an hour-long tasks, like you know. And the other thing too is that when you realise, oh wait, our teacher has no idea what she's doing, but doesn't know enough detail about what we're doing to know whether we have or haven't done something. So basically what happens is, me and my friend talked pretty and fudged our way to an excellence by just basically realising that our teacher wouldn't have had the skill to know whether we were BSing or not. So basically one of our assignments was we had to create a website. And, you know, the difference between merit and excellence was, you know, you had to have digitally altered a photo, you had to have at least something linked, you had to have a mix of like internal, external links, something like that. It was all these things that your webpage had to have. So I did mine about, must have done mine about video games, because I took a picture from home on my little potato phone, because I had an absolutely potato cell phone at that point. Flip top. It was great. Or did I have? No, I had it. No, I think by that point I'd had another type of phone. But anyway, oh my goodness. Controller. Thank you. Yeah, so I had a bit of a potato phone. So I stacked all my Xbox 360 games up and took a angled picture of all like the titles of them. And because of the light, I think it was either the lighting or the flash on the phone, there was like right in the middle of the image was noticeably lighter than the rest. It was almost like a fake flashlight being placed on it. So I put that that image up on my website because it's on the Xbox page or something. I don't know. I can't remember what exactly it was. Was I just facing? Was I just facing Sasori or the 4th Kazekage? I was facing Sasori, wasn't I? Oh, beans! I can't balls that one up. I was supposed to be facing the 4th Kazekage. Ugh. Ugh. Don't think I've done this fight before, but it'll be interesting if I have. Anyway, so I put that thing on my website. So then comes the day. I mean, I've done the absolute minimal effort required on this website. Got the most minimum amount of content on there, and I've just been looking at personality quizzes for the rest of the week. So here comes the day, the day of judgment, the day where the teacher walks around to each of us, sits us down, and we talk her through our website, and she has a little marking matrix next to her, you know, to see which one we're at. And so now it comes to you having to explain, okay, have you got your internal, external links? Yes, here they is. Now, your digitally altered photo. And I'm like, oh, yes, that's right, I need a digitally altered photo. So then I'm like, okay. So then I said, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. Because it was so obvious. Like, to anyone, it would be so obvious I was absolutely making it up. But, so I took I got my Xbox picture. And I said the image was quite dark when I took it, as you can see around the edges. So I digitally altered it to brighten up the center of the image and also to create a point of focus. Tick in the excellence column, and I got an excellence for that website. And I just absolutely BS to her face that I had digitally altered a photo that I hadn't. So that was fun. And saying that now, 10 years later. Oh my god, I can't believe I did that. I was so bad at school. Oh dear. Yeah, and the fact that, you know, if anyone else looked at that, they would have been like, yeah, no, you didn't. No, you didn't do that. It's very obvious I didn't. So, bless her heart. Bless her sweet cotton socks. Yeah, but that was... Oh no, I've done the wrong one again. I'm doing the wrong fights over and over. Oh goodness. Right, excuse me. Oh my goodness. I'm absolutely losing it right now. Right. It's not Haku, it's Yugito. And Haku's on the next set of fights. Goodness gracious. And then it's like it's funny because between all the high schools, there were 4 main high schools in our town. So there was the one I went to, the only Catholic one. There was a girls' high, a boys' high, and then another co-ed school that had a reputation of basically just all like the, not drop kicks, but like kids who just like, it was not a very academic focused school, was the reputation it had, at least reputation that I reckoned it had, or that I'd heard it had. What's it? So like for my high school, because it was out of all of the schools, I believe it had the best achievement rates academically. So things in like English, maths and science, we had the best achievement rate. But for literally like everything else, we were underfunded and were under-resourced in terms of both equipment and teachers who could teach those subjects. So when we had no such thing as media studies. All these other schools had media studies. We had, if you want to do media studies, probably the closest thing you do is do the design, because the art was sort of split up between either like painting, photography, or like design, which is like more like graphic design. And that was probably the closest thing you would ever be able to get to media studies, purely because that's the only one where you can actually like look at media advertisements, that sort of thing, and actually, you know, and have to draw inspiration from them. Yeah. So whereas all the other schools had a media studies, you know, they had all of these amazing classes that we just did not have the luxury of having. So their achievement rates and those sorts of things were considerably better than ours. And also we were probably the worst school when it came to sports. Dudes would leave our school and move to the boys' high because they had far better rugby teams. We like if our school teams won a sports competition, it would be like an absolute miracle. I think cricket is probably the best one. Rugby, no chance. Netball, no chance. Oh, maybe a little bit of a chance, I guess. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, so bless our school. Bless our school. And then, of course, when they tried to introduce Wi-Fi, you know, when I was there, when, you know, oh my god, we're going to have free Wi-Fi, it became a meme, because it was around the time where, like, memes on the internet were sort of becoming more and more prevalent. So now everyone's making memes about stuff. There were just memes on, like, the Facebook memes page about how rubbish our Wi-Fi was. Like, how absolutely awful our Wi-Fi was, because it was just shocking. Like you go on the computers, it's, you know, even just going on the internet on the computers where they're plugged into the Ethernet, it was shocking. Like good luck trying to watch a video, because, you know, 10 years later you've loaded the first minute. It was just like, oh, and it was just very much a symptom of the school sort of true, like, and it's weird because, like, and I think it was because I was so sheltered and just so, like, didn't party, I wasn't hanging out with the cool kids, so I thought, what teen pregnancies? There's no teen pregnancies. And then, like, talking to the boy, he's like, there were heaps, and I'm like, no, there wasn't. I didn't see anyone getting pregnant. He's like, there were heaps. I'm like, no. But yeah, so that's right, that was the other thing. That was the other thing we were known for. And ironic as well, being the Catholic school. But isn't that always, like, it's always the Catholic schools that have reputations of being the highest teen pregnancy thing? You know, probably because they, you know, when they go to those sorts of videos, when they have to show those sorts of videos when we reach of age, because it's a Catholic school, they have to fast forward past the bits that would probably help avoid teen pregnancies, which is always fun. Yeah, no, and it's so interesting. Like, it's so interesting hearing about my high school from an outsider's perspective as well. Like, just, you know, because little old me, being, you know, teacher's pet, you know, like, I'm a law-abiding citizen, you know, I think my high school's great, it's amazing, it's fabulous. I mean, in a lot of ways it was, but then just hearing, like, hearing what the other high schools thought of us and the kids that went there, was, I suppose I'd probably say it's a bit funny, like, but like they thought all the guys, you know, all the all the boys that went to my high school were just like low testosterone, could hardly classify as a man, kind of thing, and all the girls. What do I think of all the girls? I don't know. Can't remember. I mean, I could probably ask the boy, but he's watching TV at the moment. Yeah, but it's just It's just, and it's one of those things like, you know, when you're at the end of high school, you're like, oh please God, like please I want to get out of high school now. I'm like, I'm done. He was and then when you sort of reflect back on it now, I'm like, actually it was okay. You know, I'd rather have to do would I rather have to do art projects than do like work? No, those art projects were awful. Those art boards were the absolute bane of my existence. And considering I wanted in my heart of hearts to be good at art, and it was just one of those things, you know, when you have just one of those subjects and you just want deep down in your soul, like you enjoy it, but you were just not at anywhere technical skills wise, anywhere where you would want to be. That was me in art. I like so desperately wanted to be like my dream goal was to be a concept artist for video games, which I now realize I actually wanted to be an illustrator rather than a concept artist. But yeah, that was my dream. Like the splash art for like League of Legends and Smite, like all the character skins, like I wanted to be the person that created those, and I do not have the technical skill at all to even be close to doing that. I mean, I practice. I practice where I can. I got my tablet and everything, but you know, it's one of those things. So, art was just, oh goodness. Because then for NCA, for you like the big art project that you had pretty much the whole year to do, really, or that you sort of prepared for, what was called the art boards. So you had to, or maybe it was just one semester, but you got 3 boards, and you know that you make into a little triptych. You know, sellotape them together to make a little triptych, and then basically you just had to create a series of artworks around a theme. So like the intention was that you would, let's say, you know, you'd have to find an artist that you're inspired by, and make art that is inspired by that and around a theme. So everyone does the whole, you know, they spend about two weeks of their life drawing like the eye. Like everyone just draws the eye with all the swishy eyelashes and super detail in the pupil and the iris. You know, everyone does that. So everyone's got the eye right at the start, but it's meant to show a development, and you're meant to start out like simple, or like you're meant to expand on and develop the theme as you go through the boards. So it's meant to be like your basic stuff, you know, introducing the subject matter at the start, and then by the end of it you've melding ideas and influences together, and it's just sort of artsy nonsense. But that was like, you had weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to do your art boards, and without fail, every single year I think bar one, I think one year I actually did it maybe a day earlier, but every single year without fail I would be doing mine like 2 nights before it's due. Like it was, you know, art class for me was just a time just to draw fan art of Naruto characters, and all that sort of thing. It was art class was probably the most like little work. I had the most talking, and like, because it was one of those things where when you sort of got to in the senior levels, the teacher didn't really supervise you as much. I mean, like most of the periods you would just sit in the senior, because the seniors had a special little art room separate to the main one. So you're just sitting there and just on your laptop goofing off, just drawing pretty pictures in your book. Like, I mean, that's what I was doing anyway. Doing the art that you want to do rather than the art that you have to do. You know, the art that you find inspires and interests you, rather than what you're meant to do for school. So yeah, so I would always get to the like 2 days before these art boards were due, and then I'd start. And of course, I never failed them, but I never got much more than just the lowest possible pass you can get. And I mean, if I passed, I was happy. I was like, thank God I passed. I think the second year, no, my last year, I think I maybe got like a high pass, of which I was blown away. I'm like, wait, what? Like, I didn't just get a low pass, I got a high pass. What is this? Still not a merit, or still not the next level of grade up, but I don't care. I didn't mind. It was just, I was just glad it was over. It was always like, it was kind of like the equivalent of like a animation VFX student, like when you're doing all your rendering at the end of the year. It was like the equivalent of that. It's just because it's a lot of art that you have to do. Like, these boards are huge, so you'd have to be doing like at least like, I mean, it's completely up to you how big you did your artworks. You could do like 1,000 squares if you wanted to. We could do like 3 huge things, but you'd generally do around, I want to say like probably like 25 roughly, probably on average. You do about 25 artworks. And it was just, and by the end of it, you're just like, please Lord, just let it be over. And then there was a rumour, and I don't know if it was a complete fabrication that someone made up, or whether it was actually true, but I always remember that people would always talk about because what they'd have to do is the teacher would mark it, and then they would mark everyone, so everyone's got their grade, and then they would pick like for each grade, and like the high and low end of the scales for each, they would pick the student's board that best represented that grade, and they would send it to Wellington or something, to like the main NCAA art people. And so when the NCAA art people look at that, so let's say they look at the high achieved or the high merits, they would say, if they look at the board and be like, yep, this is a high merit, then all of the students that had also got high merits, like they, that is their grade. Whereas if the NCAA people saying, oh no, it's a low merit, then all of the other low merits in the class would then be, or all the other high merits would then also be put down to low merits. So that's the thing that was it. But then the rumour that was going around was that when these artsy people in Wellington mark the boards, they lay, they're getting stuff from all around the country. They would lay them all down in a giant hall, lay them all down flat, and they would walk all over them to like see if there was any like nails sticking out or something. And apparently if you had things sticking out, then you'd fail or something like that. It was weird. It was like, I'm pretty sure that's what they were saying. Like, I'm fairly certain that that's what they were saying, but it was just odd. I just always remember being like, why the hell are they walking all over? And then, because obviously, they'd send the boards back when they were done, and then people are like, I don't want my board that's been walked all over by people, and it's just like, yeah, it was just weird, because I remember in the final year that we did it, our final year, one of my friends, she did her board on, I think it was like her theme was like greed or something, so she did like a lot of like green colours. I think like she had stuff about like dragons, and she'd done this really cool thing where she'd got the paper and she'd cut it in a way that it was almost like, I don't even know how to, like, imagine like isobar lines on a map, but kind of like all like each is like individually cut out from each other, so you can like have them at different, it was weird, I don't even know how to describe it. But then when she brought it in on like the final, the day where we had to bring all our boards in, because this is the hand-in day, I remember the teacher saw it and she's like, oh my god, no, you can't have things sticking up on your board. So they had to spend like half an hour like gluing down all of these little strips of paper that she had cut out of her stuff. And I'm just like, I felt so bad. I'm like, probably part of the technique and the skill in her art pieces was the fact that she'd cut all these strips and positioned them all in such a way. I'm just like, oh my goodness, like, screw art at school. I think I remember who was it? They were saying that like academic art. Oh, there's nothing that kills passion for art more than having to do it for an academic grade, because you lose what makes art. You're doing specific things, or like you're not doing something that comes from the heart. You're thinking about it too much, because you're needing to make sure that you put in specific things to get the grade you want. like, you know, for me, if I could have done my whole, you know, my art boards, which is fan art of Naruto characters or Final Fantasy characters or whoever, or I just done like, you know, fan art of Sasuke, but like as the art progresses, it got like more and more like crazy. That I would have, my passion for art would have remained further than it did. But then, you know, when you have to start writing about old Renaissance paintings and you can't use blue ink because then the markers will think that you're sad about what you're writing about. Like you can't use red ink because then it will give the impression that you're angry about what you're writing. Oh, it's mental. I feel like this is a law fight, but it's not. Oh, we're back. Hello, Bull. I just realised that you just popped that in just before I disconnected. I'm so sorry. I didn't purposely disconnect when you came in. I think, and I've just had a look at the time. So, and it's something I keep forgetting to sort out, and I need to sort out. So I've worked out what happens is at approximately 8. Like it used to be about like 8:04, but now it's shifted to like 8:14 or 8:15. Every 4 hours, like so like 12:15, 4:15, 8:15, the internet will cut out for about 2 seconds, and then of course Twitch just throws a hissy. I've worked out what the problem is. It's like authentication issues with like our internet router does its little authentication check, freaks out for some reason, but then sorts itself out within a second. So that's what the problem is. So I think we've got to call the internet company and be like, yo, what's up? But I keep forgetting to do it. And technically my boyfriend's got he's the account holder, so he should really be doing it, but he'll keep forgetting too. But anyway, hello, welcome. Oh, I've also, what's it? Oh, I was doing some investigation. So I've downloaded, from the conversation we had last time about all the East games, I was going to download East Origin and Memories of Cell Setup, but I did some investigation, I did some research, some high intensity analytics and investigation. And so there was a website, oh god, what was it called? Digital MLS, yeah, something like that. And they said, right, here's the order that you play it in. Well, there's actually like 2 possible orders that you play it in, but both of the orders you start with East 1 and 2. And then you do Origin, and then you do Memories of Cell Setup, and then you do Cell and then Othin Felgana, no. And then you have to do Ark of Napishtim after you've done all the rest. Well, actually no, there were two ways they did it. Is they say, so you either play Origin first, as long as you do 1 and 2 together straight after, or straight before, either side of Origin. And then you do Salceda, you do Oath and Felgana, and then you do Ark of Napishtim after that, purely because Ark of Napishtim will have lore things. So it's either a case of, do you want to have like things introduced in all the other games that Ark of Napishtim kind of says like plot twist, or like here's some, you know, all the extra things, like oh my god, all that stuff in those previous games now has more context, or something like that. Or you do Ark of Napishtim first, which then kind of like the bits then in those other games you kind of already have context for. I think. So after looking through all of that, I think I've downloaded 1 and 2, and I think I did Origins. Yeah. Something like that, yeah. So I've got 1 and 2, so I'm thinking I should check. No, I think I've got Origins as well. So basically, I was originally planning on doing 1 and 2 first, and then Origin. But would you highly recommend doing Origin first? Actually, no. Yeah, I might actually do Origin first because it's not at all. It's Unica and Hugo, is it? As well, yeah. So I might actually do that. Possibly. Yeah. Oh, and they also said 8 and 9 can come anywhere. Like, you can just play them whenever you want. But then I kind of feel like definitely the true ending of 8 probably confused me a bit more. Well, obviously I would have understood it far more if I'd played it after the other ones, especially when they start introducing all the other civilizations before Dana's, yeah. So I'm like, oh, I feel like these have been introduced before. Yeah. Yeah, I'll see if I can just pull up on my phone quickly why they said do 1 and 2 first, or why one of the options was to do 1 and 2 first. Yeah, I was having a look at the bump system because I'm like, wait, so you just smash into people's like bumper cars, and then I was watching like a video on how you do it, and then apparently you have to just attack like off center, like you kind of have to come up to this right and just clip like the side of them to damage them without damaging at all too much. So I was like, oh goodness, if they're going like super fast paced, I'm definitely gonna need to use a controller. No, not Daikinelli. Oh my goodness, lady. I'm thinking, do I even bother trying to? Try and get the ultimate on this one. Hanabi I've always had rubbish luck with. Yeah, I'm not even gonna bother actually. Hanabi's just rubbish. Rubbish. See, she does such rubbish damage. There we go. Right, lovely. So now that gives me a little reprieve. Reprieve to go on digital MLS. No, don't want that one. I want Young Sakura and Young Lee. Lovely. Right. Let's have a look and see why they say 1 and 2 before Origin. Oh goodness. And they've got such a lovely website as well. They're so like, I was looking at like who's behind the website, and there's all these people like super involved in the story. Like super involved with like the guy who does like all the English translations. Yeah, story path they say 1 and 2 first. So let's see. Okay, no, so it doesn't actually say why they've included it before or after, or before Origin. They just say that as long as you play them back to back and you do it either before or after Origin. So I might do that. And I'll just need to double check that I've actually, because I've definitely got one and two. I'm pretty sure I downloaded Origin as well. Oh, and then I found out, because I was like, so I always thought, so you know, like how some JRPGs have just those like weird names. It'll be like, well, kind of like the kind of like anime where it's all like, I died and got reincarnated in the magical world as a fridge, and they're like, that's the title of the anime. Like, I thought that Ys was one of those names that was just like, it's Japan, like they've just come up with this name, not realizing that it's a full-on like a that it's a full-on like French mythology, like ancient city like Atlantis that sunk in the ocean, and it's got all this history and stuff behind it. I had no idea. I'm like, okay, I appreciate this series even more now that people are like, what the hell is this name? But I'm like, look on Wikipedia. It's actually not just Japan being Japan, it's got some other stuff behind it. But yeah, that's the one. Got reincarnated as a slime. Right, just going to update my list because we are now down to 8,499. Alright. Jiraiya and Tamari. No, I have not, actually. In fact, I can't even say I've watched many anime at all in the last couple of years. Something I do actually want to be rectifying. But yeah, no, I haven't. Oh, if it's got combat, I'm definitely, and funny as well, actually. As long as it's not like a rom-com, like Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, Kobayashi's, whatever one. As long as it's not like cutesy girl and boy kissing, then I'm good. Fabulous. I might check it out then. So I've been meaning to check out. Oh, there was another one. It was like an old one as well. I want to say it's like Demon. It's not Demon Slayer, like Demon Slayer. It's like Demon Slayers, Arashi, something like that. There's an old anime that's something like that. Oh, Yu Yu Hakusho. That's right. I first got, was it Hunter x Hunter? No, it was Yu Yu Hakusho. I remember my first introduction, I suppose, to that was my brother somehow, somewhere, I don't know where the hell he got it from, whether he nicked it from somewhere, got a hold of a manga magazine, but it was from like Taiwan or so. I couldn't even tell you what language it was. It wasn't Korean, Japanese, Chinese. It was none of those. It was, I want to say it was Thai or Taiwanese or something like that. Anyway, but they had a Black Cat. They had Shaman King. It was like, you know, the early 2000s manga. Don't even think I had Naruto in it. No, definitely had Shaman King and definitely had Black Cat because that was the first one. But I'm pretty sure it had Yu Yu Hakusho in it as well because I just remember just reading it. Couldn't, no idea what was going on. Although I actually had a good idea of actually what was going on because when you read manga without any words, it's actually pretty decent. Like, you know, they've done it pretty well that you can actually get a gauge of what's actually going on. You get no emotion behind anything, but yeah. You know, the fight scenes look pretty sick, and I think that was probably the like, ooh, I gotta check out this manga stuff. This seems pretty cool. Yeah. I think back in the day, and I'm really, really tempted to re-watch it as well, just to see if it's as good as I remembered it on TV. Shaman King was probably my favourite anime at one point, even more so than Naruto, purely because there was just something about it. I think it was just because Yo, the main character, didn't get on my nerves like Naruto does. Yeah, and then I just remember reading the manga, like the full manga of it, and then realised that the ending of Shaman King, they actually changed, like completely changed between the anime and the manga, and I wonder if they did it on purpose, because so the anime endings, you know, your typical big, you know, what was his name? It was Zeke, but his name wasn't that. It was his How Azakura or something. But anyway, the bad guy, like, you know, does evil big bad things. I'm about to like become the shaman, the king of spirits' shaman, whatever. And then, you know, this power of friendship and love saved the day, and they managed to beat him. And then in the manga, I remember reading it. It was during one of my periods while I was slacking off at school. The bad guy wins. Like, he defeats the main character. I even want to say he goes so far as to kill the main character. I can't remember if he did that, but he did something like that. And then, yeah, becomes the Shaman King. But then they do, like, something happens at the end, and he, like, basically just gets a change of heart, or, like, he gets convinced in some way to be good. So even though he is now the most all-powerful person in the whole world, he's now good. But the main character's all lost, and you know, the whole, like, we've got to stop the bad guy failed completely. And I just found that fantastic. I just thought it was such a, like, twist. I was like, I don't remember that from watching it on, would have been, was it TV2? Like, basically at the after school on, like, the main TV networks. I just thought it was fantastic, and I think, yeah, pretty sure I remember Shaman. I'll remember it differently than how it actually is, but I think that was probably my favourite anime. Yeah. Because I've got a very, like, I have a soft spot for characters that, like, as much as people love an underdog, I kind of like it when your main character is already competent and doesn't have to start from zero and learn the mysteries of the universe or whatever. Like, the main character in Shaman King, you know, he's already got, he gets a Nidomaru right at the start, like his main spirit, but, like, he's good at fighting, he's already, like, you know, he's already good at, like, communing with spirits, he's already just, like, a chill dude. He doesn't have to go on some giant journey of self-discovery. He doesn't realize that he can commune with spirits at the start of it. He's already cool. He's already badass right at the start. And I, for some reason, and I can't really put my finger on it, but for some reason I like that. I prefer when they have characters like that than watching them be nobody going up to hero. It's, yeah, I can never really put my finger on it why. It's kind of like, who's it like? It's probably because why, like, Aragorn's my favourite character in Lord of the Rings, is because he's just already a badass. Like, and he doesn't have to, you know, even though he gets, you know, learns, does he learn skills? No, he's just an all-around badass, the whole, like, from start to finish. And I'm just like, yes, thank you. You're not wallowing in your misery. You're having your, like, your hero's journey moment. You know, you're already done your hero's journey. You're now just sort of just doing the cherry on top. just looking at the time. This might be my last fight. Possibly. How many fights have I done? I've started at 58. No, I've started at 60. I've gone all the way down to 60, down to 93. So that's 67. Yeah, I'll finish it after this fight. I will be heading out soon. I try and keep it to only 2 hours, just on a work night, so we can make our lunches and then have showers and do all that sort of shebang before we got to go to sleep. Yes, I'll probably be after this one. Wait, no, this won't finish him. Lovely. Lovely jubbly. Okay. So now I can update my list. Where are we at? 93. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. So we're probably now like a good 24%, just over 24% of the way done. Oh, like, that number feels so small, but then when you look at, I've done 2,500 fights so far. More than that? More than that? No. 2,700 fights almost. That's a huge number. But then when you realise you've got 8,000 to go, like triple that left to go, it's kind of like, oh my god, like it's all the numbers related to this are big and small at the same time. It's weird, like the more you think about it. But anyway, I will call it a night for tonight. Thank you very, very much for joining me. Tomorrow, well, actually no, day 41 of this will be on Sunday. I might even do another, probably won't do because we've got a long weekend on coming up, so Monday's off, but I might actually, if I do stream, it probably won't be day 42, it'll be, I'll probably be getting hardcore into East Origins actually, so probably most likely it'll be that. But yeah, no, fun chatting with you as well. Thank you very much for dropping in. Tomorrow at, I say 7:30, but I tend to be streaming about half an hour before that, so probably around the same time anyway. I'll be trying to finish, I think I'm close to the finish, I can't actually remember, for getting the platinum on East 9, and then Saturday will definitely be starting on East Origin, I reckon. But yeah, that's the schedule, upcoming schedule. And yeah, so have a fabulous morning, afternoon or night, wherever you is in the world today. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Bye!